Let's start with the porcelain throne. Today, you do your business, push a button, and it magically disappears into a vast, invisible plumbing network. But for thousands of years, humans had a massive, highly visible waste management problem. In medieval Europe, if you didn't have an outhouse, you relied on a chamber pot, which is exactly what it sounds like. A giant bowl you kept under your bed. But the real problem was what happened when that bowl got full. With no sewage system, people literally chucked their waste out of second-story windows right into the streets below. In cities like Edinburgh, Scotland, residents were supposed to yell "Gardez l'eau" from the French phrase for "watch out for the water" before dumping their pots. If you didn't hear the warning, you were in for a terrible morning commute. Even in advanced ancient societies like Rome, which actually had running water, public restrooms were an absolute nightmare for a modern person. They were a completely communal affair. You'd sit on a long stone bench with holes cut into it, rubbing shoulders with up to 20 strangers while you all did your business. There were no privacy partitions, no air fresheners, and no quiet time. Just you, your neighbors having a chat, and the very real danger of methane gas building up in the sewers beneath you and actually exploding. Okay, so the toilets were bad, but it gets so much worse. How exactly do you clean up when toilet paper hasn't been invented yet? The commercial splinter-free toilet paper rolls we use today didn't even exist until the late 1800s. If you were royalty or extremely wealthy, you might have the luxury of using soft wool, delicate lace, or hemp. But if you were a regular, everyday peasant, you grabbed whatever nature provided. We're talking leaves, moss, handfuls of hay, or if you lived near the coast, smooth stones and seashells. Yes, seashells. In 18th and 19th century America, the absolute go-to item was a dried corn cob. Eventually, things upgraded to paper, but not the soft kind. People used old newspapers and mail order catalogs. But the absolute worst offender takes us back to ancient Rome. In those communal bathrooms we just talked about, they used a tool called a tersorium. It was a sea sponge attached to a wooden stick. The horrifying part? It was a shared community sponge. You used it, rinsed it in a bucket of heavily used salt water or vinegar, and literally handed it to the guy sitting next to you. Suddenly, the cheap, scratchy, one-ply paper you find at a gas station doesn't seem so bad, does it?
So you've survived the bathroom, and now you want to wash the grime off. Today, you just turn a silver knob for instant, infinite, perfectly heated water. In the past, taking a bath was a brutal, physically exhausting all-day chore. First, you had to haul incredibly heavy wooden buckets of water from a well or a nearby river. Then, you had to build a fire and slowly heat that water up, bucket by bucket. Because it was so much manual labor, average families didn't bathe every day. Many only fully bathed once a week or sometimes just once a month. And here is the grossest part. Water was too precious to waste, so they didn't refill the tub for each person. The entire household shared the exact same bathwater. By tradition, the man of the house went first in the clean hot water. He was followed by the wife, then the older kids, and the babies went dead last. By the time it was the baby's turn, the water was so thick, cold, and black with dirt that you could literally lose a small child in it, which is actually where the phrase, "don't throw the baby out with the bathwater" comes from. And if you lived in Europe during the 16th and 17th centuries, bathing actually went completely out of fashion. Doctors started believing that hot water opened your pores and allowed deadly plagues to enter your body. So people just stopped washing entirely. Kings and peasants alike simply masked their horrible body odor by rubbing themselves with dry rags and wearing incredibly heavy, overpowering perfumes. Finally, you need to brush your teeth. Without nylon bristles, modern dentists, and fluoride toothpaste, our ancestors had to get dangerously creative to keep their teeth from rotting out of their skulls. The earliest toothbrushes were called chew sticks. People would take twigs from specific trees, like the neem tree, and aggressively chew on one end until the wood splintered and frayed into a messy, bristly brush. To actually scrub the teeth, they relied on ancient, highly abrasive tooth powders. Ancient Egyptians and Romans created scraping powders made from crushed eggshells, burnt animal hooves, pumice stones, and charcoal. They would rub this gritty, sandy paste onto their teeth with a coarse rag. Sure, it scraped the daily plaque off, but it also acted like sandpaper, completely destroying their protective tooth enamel over time. Because of this, massive cavities and rotting teeth were a constant, agonizing part of daily life.
And what did they think caused these cavities? For centuries, top medical experts believed in the tooth worm, a literal tiny demonic worm that they thought burrowed inside your gums to cause pain. If a tooth went totally bad, there were no specialized dentists. Your only option was to go to the local town barber, the same guy who cut your hair, and have him rip the tooth out of your jaw with a pair of rusty iron pliers with absolutely zero anesthesia. Oh, and for mouthwash? In ancient Rome, people actually imported urine from Portugal to rinse their mouths out. The ammonia in the urine naturally bleached their teeth white. So, the next time you complain about the taste of your morning mouthwash, just remember what the Romans were gargling.